The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Wolf Trap. Paul Simon, Hart, the Goo Goo Dolls, and many more are coming to Wolf Trap this summer. Tickets for over 50 summer concerts are on sale now at wolftrap.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. March's dining special events include March Mania food, drink, and viewing party packages in the all-new ESPN Bet the 20th through the 23rd. Details and reservations at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Burton Cummings, lead singer of the classic band The Guess Who, rocks the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C. on March 19th. He joined me to preview the show and reflect on the band's biggest hits, from These Eyes to American Woman. Hey, Burton Cummings, hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Well, thanks for having me. Thank you.
We are talking, obviously, the legendary lead singer of the classic band The Guess Who, not to mention all of your solo stuff, too. You're going to be coming to the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C. on March 19th. Now, we're billing this is the 60th anniversary tour because, the band formed in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada in 65. So, gosh, yeah, that's 2025. Wow, 60 years. Can you believe it's been 60 years? Or if you close your eyes, does some of those memories feel like just yesterday to you?
No, it's been a pretty full ride for me, I must admit, been all over the world, and I cut the first record I ever cut. I was with my first band, the Devrons, and I was 17. So now I just turned 77. So it's literally now 60 years. That's true.
Wow, congratulations. What a run. Most people would kill to have the career you've had. But it's not over, baby. We're still going.
Well, I think one of the things that makes me so proud is the songs have never gone away. The songs are still on the radio and very much in people's minds, and that makes me very, very proud as a songwriter,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're totally timeless, and I'm sure that's basically, as you're putting the set list together for this anniversary tour, I assume it's going to be all the greatest hits from Guess Who, and then some of your solo stuff too, or tease the set list really quick.
Well, it's a pretty good, we do about a 2-hour show with no breaks, and a lot of it is recognizable songs. So we know why people are coming to see us. We do the big songs, of course, but we also do a few things from the brand new album. Brand new album is called A Few Good Moments. We do a couple songs from there, got some stuff from my solo career, and the next thing you know, we do 2 hours plus. So it's I tell you, the band is terrific. 4 of these guys I've been with now for 20 years. So it's a very, very good band, and I think we're doing justice to the songs.
Well-oiled machine at this point for 20 years, and great songs going back 60 years with your genius all the way back then. It's going to be awesome. You have to come, everybody. Well, also, I should take a step back and say, obviously, you're from Canada and you're coming to Washington D.C. So I wanted to personally apologize on behalf of some Americans at, these hockey games back and forth, booing anthems and stuff. Not all of us want to annex Canada like Russia does with Ukraine. Some of us still respect our international borders and love our Canadian prince to the north.
Well, here's the thing. I was born and raised in Winnipeg, so that's only 60 miles from the border with North Dakota. I mean, basically, it was like growing up in the States. All the music I heard basically was American music, and on really cold nights, we could actually get WLS Chicago in Winnipeg, and that's like 500-600 miles away, or maybe 800 miles away. We would listen to Chicago and be very excited because sometimes we would hear some of the American singles before they broke in Canada. So it was exciting times for radio, especially.
Well, I would love to ask you about that. Yeah, I would love to hear some of the actual, let's deeper dive into that, of what sort of bands or artists you would hear on those radio stations. So yeah, you were born in 47, in Winnipeg. So then but you're picking up American stations, like you're saying, across the border, etc. So which artists do you think were really, really influential on you? And even if you didn't realize it at the time as a kid, you're just digging the music.
Well, I don't know about if they affected me, but I remember distinctly hearing, the Do Run Run one night on WLS, and no one in Canada had played it yet, and they hadn't played it in Winnipeg yet. And I thought, wow, this is cool. I'm getting a scoop on what's going on in the States. But basically,
that was the Crystals, right?
Oh yeah, I was tremendous. And once in a while, my mother, once we got a car, I was still very young, and once in a while, my mother would drive me across. We would take an afternoon trip across the border into the state, into Grand Forks, North Dakota, or Fargo, North Dakota, and I would have saved my allowance and the money I was making delivering papers so I could buy singles on the American labels, which were different from the Canadian labels. So this goes back a long way, my love for records.
I love it. Thank you so much. That's gold. But when our listeners tune in, they know you and your songs, but they don't always know you love the Do Run Run. Like I love painting those little hidden pictures. I love that. All right, so you're growing up listening to all that great music on both sides of the border. So then how exactly, the brief version, how do you meet Randy Bachman and the rest of the guys who actually formed this thing in '65?
Well, I was in a band called the Devrons, and we were doing fairly well in Winnipeg. We were a pretty big deal locally in Winnipeg, and they found out that their singer wanted to go back to university. So they were looking around for a singer, and their singer at that time was a softer voice. They were still a cover band. They hadn't had a bunch of hit records yet, so he was doing songs by Bobby Goldsboro and the Fortunes and the milder stuff. They wanted me. When they saw me in the Devrons, I was more of a screamer. I was doing the Eric Burdon stuff and maybe John Lennon and Paul McCartney, more of a screamer, so, and Little Richard perhaps. So I think they leaned towards me because I was younger and maybe I had a little more energy. I was just in the right place at the right time.
The Devron run, the Devron run.
Yeah.
What was the Fortunes? Where they were here comes that rainy day feeling again. Right? That was them, right?
No, yeah. I see a worried look upon your face. You've got your troubles, I've got mine. Great records.
I'm loving these bands that you're mentioning. All right, cool. So then the band comes together, and is it true? I read somewhere that your breakthrough single, that Shakin' All Over came out in '65. Was that you released it, and I guess you're trying to still figure out what your band name's going to be. So it's sort of like an anonymous release as a Guess Who to kind of trick people into a British invasion, or is that apocryphal?
First of all, I didn't sing Shakin' All Over. That was before I was in the band. I replaced their singer, Chad Allen, and we did our first album with me in 1966.
I guess my question is, even if you weren't in the band at the time, I'm sure you've had the story passed down from other members of the band of how that name, the Guess Who, came together. It's like the Who's on First of band names. But what was it trying to keep it a mystery?
I never liked the name, but I had nothing to do with it. That was before I came along. Scepter Records, based in New York City, they heard Shakin' All Over and they said to themselves, it kind of sounds British. So why don't we just put Guess Who with a question mark on it and let the listeners think it might be a new British band. This was at the height of Beatlemania and the British invasion. So they released it. Scepter Records released it. It just said Shakin' All Over, Guess Who with a question mark. It became such a hit record that the band took the name The Guess Who, and that's how it happened.
And of course, The Who was just coming on the scene right before then too, so it added a little mystery there. But all right, cool.
Yeah, there was The Who from England, and then the Four Seasons with Frankie Valli released a record, a Bob Dylan single. Don't Think Twice, I think it was, and they were called The Wonder Who. So it was 3 groups with Who in the title.
Lots of Who going
Yeah.
on. Then when you're in the band, you joined shortly after that, and then
Yeah, the big breakthrough was These Eyes in '69, and it broke in Canada first, and then later it broke in the United States. So These Eyes was huge for us. And you know what else happened? That very same year, Junior Walker and the All-Stars released it on Motown, and they had an R&B hit version of it. So we were very lucky.
Then, like you're saying, These Eyes is the big breakthrough in '69. I think it was a top 10 hit both in Canada and America. It's awesome. I love the way you sing that song. These Eyes, it pulls us right in from the beginning. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the creation of it. I interviewed guitarist Randy Bachman years ago, and he said he wrote the basic part of it on piano in the key of C, and he said he showed it to you, and you said, quote, "Wow, that's so simple. I would never do it that way. You're more of a boogie-woogie classical piano player," end quote. Is that how you remember, or what's your take on the putting it together?
Well, he did have that piano riff, you know, and I thought to myself, that's pretty good for a guitar player, because it's such a hook. When we ever start that song off live, as soon as the people hear dum boom da 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 da, there's a big applause that goes up. So it's one of those instantly recognizable things.
Yeah.
And you know how long ago this was? I was still living at home. Randy Bachman came over to my house where I lived with my mother and grandmother. We sat at my mother's piano and put the whole thing together. And then I wanted a really dramatic part for the middle, so I came up with that whole, these eyes have seen a lot of love, but they're never going to see another one like I had with you. So we traded pieces. Basically, that was real songwriting coming from 2 angles.
Yeah, that is so cool to me. Thank you so much for these backstories. How about, and we'll get to American Woman in a second, that's the big one. But before that, like your hardcore fans they probably also want to hear, Laughing and No Time. I mean, you co-wrote those with Randy as well, so any cool insights you can provide, like you just did for These Eyes, that was gold, but, on Laughing or No Time?
Well, No Time is one of my favorite Guess Who songs, because it was a much harder record. We had success with These Eyes and Laughing and Undone. Those were all softer records. But in 1969, hell, man, everybody wanted to be Led Zeppelin, you know.
Yeah.
So I think No Time was a much harder record. It was a guitar-based record, and it certainly wasn't a ballad. And I think after No Time, we started getting taken a bit more seriously as a band. I really do.
That's awesome. Yeah, No Time and Laughing, actually, I think were both #1 in Canada, and Laughing, I think, was top 10 here in the States, and No Time was top 5 in the States. Like, these are mainstream songs across. All right, well, that brings us to the big one everyone remembers. You say these songs are still played today. American Woman in 1970 tops the charts in Canada and America. I gotta pinch myself. I'm talking to the voice that sings that iconic American Woman.
I'll tell you what, from the horse's mouth, here's how it happened. I will tell you because I've read so many stories that are just nonsense, that are not true. We had toured the States for quite a while on the strength of These Eyes and Laughing, right?
Right.
Then we came back to Canada to do a show in Ontario at a curling rink, and I looked out at the crowd that night, and I saw that the girls in Canada weren't trying to grow up quite as fast. When we had toured the States, they were wearing more makeup at a younger age. They were dressing more sexily. Then we got back to Canada, and they weren't trying as hard to grow up so fast. So Randy had this great riff going, and I just started making things up out of my head like a Bob Dylan stream of consciousness moment. I was just trying to make things rhyme. And when I looked out at the girls, I was thinking, Canadian Woman, I prefer you. What came out of my mouth was, American Woman, stay away from me. And from there...
It's much catchier. I don't think the other title would have worked as well.
No, exactly. And then from there, I was just trying to make things rhyme, you know. Colored lights can hypnotize. sparkle someone else's eyes, war machines, ghetto scenes. I was just trying to make things rhyme. And the thing is, it was one of those things that happened improvisationally, and it changed our lives completely. It's still all over the radio.
Isn't that crazy? So many times people think that some of the greatest hits ever were like labored over forever. And some of them are. But truly some of the great, amazing ones are just like a moment of inspiration like that. And you're genius, and, you know, you'd put in your 10,000 hours. So, you know, there's experience that goes into it. But a lot of it is just riding that wave of that moment when it drops out of the sky and you just tap into it somehow. And there you are improvising lyrics, and now it's an all-timer.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the music gods just smile on you sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we were very lucky in that period of time because Laughing was the A side, Undone was the B side of Laughing, and then American Woman and No Sugar Tonight were together on a single. So we had two monstrous double-sided singles within a year of each other.
Yeah, so you're one of the biggest bands around at that point. Well, awesome. By the way, before I move off of American Woman real quick, what did you make of the Lenny Kravitz cover in, I guess it was the second Austin Powers movie, right? The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to it, but I liked the fact that he changed it a bit and had some harmony vocals in there. And then, on a Much Music special in Canada, he and I did it together, and we traded vocal licks at the end. It was very cool.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask if you ever performed it together. So you did. Is that available on YouTube or anything? I wonder if we could look that up.
It is on YouTube, yes. If you just go to Lenny Kravitz, Burton Cummings, American Woman, I believe you'll see it. And I'll tell you another thing that made me very proud. One night on New Year's Eve, years ago, Prince and Lenny Kravitz jammed American Woman together. And these are two artists that I really enjoyed. Having them jamming on something that came out of my head made me very proud to this day.
Yeah, you think legends like Prince and an icon like Lenny Kravitz, and that came out of your head improvisationally, a lot of it you're saying, and now you have the biggest names in music doing it. That's so great. Well, awesome. Well, I guess so. After No Sugar Tonight, I guess the band's together a few more years after that, but I guess it's somewhere around there. Randy leaves to do, Bachman Turner Overdrive, BTO, and they're a huge hit too. You, the Guess Who breaks up in '75, and you do your self-titled. So you started a long solo run there. I guess in '76 you had a hit record with Stand Tall. I guess that was.
Yeah, Stand Tall was pretty big, and then in '78 in Canada I had a monstrous record called Break It to Them Gently, it's still all over the radio today.
That was your Dream of a Child album.
Yes, it was on the Dream of a Child album, and that was the first triple platinum album ever in Canada by a Canadian artist. And the new album, I'm very happy with the reaction to the new album. It's called A Few Good Moments, and we do some of the stuff in our new show. We've been doing Blackjack Fever on stage. Tremendous reaction. So this is a good time for me. It's a reemergence in the States. Now that the fake Guess Who cover band is out of the way.
Wait, what was that? What was that? I know there was some legal stuff, right? People trying to play under the name, right? But they're gone?
Oh, it's over with. It's over with. Okay. It was a long, ugly legal battle, and I'm feeling this overwhelming welcome back vibe. People are saying that they're happy to hear the real guy singing the songs he wrote and sang. So this is like a reemergence for me. It's very happy to be playing the States again.
That's so cool. So we will hear some of those solo hits mixed in, like You Saved My Soul and Stand Tall, and some of them. You'll mix them in?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. And I think we're revitalizing one from an album called Above the Ground. It was a very catchy thing called We Just Came from the USA. I think we're going to start doing that one again too.
Awesome. Do you and the original guys stay in touch, Randy, or is I never know. Sometimes bands that they break up, there's bad blood, or you know what I mean? I'm curious. I don't even know. Are you guys on good terms?
No, I have nothing to do with Peterson and Cale, because they sort of bastardized the name for years. Randy is out doing his BTO stuff, and I'm doing my solo stuff. There may be some Bachman Cummings stuff in the future. When we do Bachman Cummings, it's 2.5 hours of hit records. It's a lot of stuff. But right now, Randy's busy doing BGO, and I am very happy to be touring under my own name in the States again.
Absolutely, and that's what you're doing. Burton Cummings, the legendary lead singer of The Guess Who, going to be at Warner Theater on March 19th. Sort of in the final seconds, I want to do some, like lifetime achievement sort of questions for you. I know you were inducted into the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame alongside, and that's a lot of great songs like Gordon Lightfoot. There's been a ton of great Canadian songwriters. So how much of an honor was that for you to be included alongside such legends like that?
Well, I'll tell you what was great. We got a star on the Walk of Fame in Toronto. There's a Walk of Fame like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but it's in Toronto. And the same day, Jean Beliveau, the legendary Montreal Canadian superstar, was getting a star as well. So we got to hang out with Jean Beliveau all afternoon. And I'll tell you, man, I turned into a 9-year-old kid again when that happened. It was just great.
That is awesome. Yeah, childhood heroes, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's great. That's great. And then I guess you even have your own theater named after you, the Burton Cummings Theater. They're in your hometown of Winnipeg. It's one thing for, the hit records and the touring and all the crowds and all this stuff. But it's got to be extra special that in your hometown, literally your friends and family and neighbors where you grew up, that now there's a theater named after you. How personally gratifying is that?
Well, I'll tell you this. I used to go to that theater to go to the movies. Oh, yeah. And even before I was ever born, my mother used to go to that theater, to go to the movies. It's over 100 years old. It's a heritage building now. And I'm very happy to have my name on it right now. We have nice displays in there of pictures of me and sometimes the reproductions of the lyrics handwritten to No Time, An American Woman and stuff like that. And we have in there is the original piano that I learned on and took lessons on. And it's a beautiful building, and I'm very proud to be associated with it.
Well, the Oscars just happened, and I'm first and foremost a movie buff, even more than the music. So now I got to know what movies you grew up going to there. Do you actually remember some of the classics you went and saw?
Very pertinent, I think. I went to see Help there with the Beatles when I was a teenager. But even earlier than that, as a kid, I think I saw 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea there, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Some of the classic stuff,
Jules Verne adaptations and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That is awesome. Well, you've been so generous with your time. We'll let you run, but I really, really do appreciate you joining us and sharing some of the insights on, the making ofs of a lot of these songs, and it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to the show.
All right, everybody. Burton Cummings is celebrating 60 years since the founding of The Guess Who. You'll hear all the hits, some of his solo stuff, too. It's going to be at Warner Theater in Washington, D.C. on March 19th, so get your tickets now. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.